for another episode of How to Get Away with Murder. We are at season 5, episode 15. There's a lot we need to get through, so put your seatbelts on. All right, so we start with Annalise, and she's looking at the governor's phone records, or the security guard's phone records, and she confirmed that Crawford did call the guard 2 hours before that. 2 hours before that same guard killed Nate Sr. So it's not looking good for Crawford. Things are looking good for him. You know, the phone records are kind of confirming that he did make the calls, and he may or may not have put the hit on Nate Sr. Why? Not really a good motive as to why. Nobody can figure out a good reason why, other than he was embarrassed because Nate Sr. chose Annalise as his representation over him. So they need to figure that part out. And you know, Annalise is letting Tegan know all these details, and she also lets him know, like, hey, I wouldn't be so bothered if I didn't almost kiss him when he was at the holiday party, you know, not because I was drunk, he was just there, and, you know, whatever. And Tegan kind of advises her to, you know, potentially sleep with him in order to get a confession out of him, just because he's attracted to Annalise. And he says he keeps professional, and coming off of that misconduct case that Annalise just won for him, he don't want no parts of that. So Bonnie is at the house and lets the kids know that they need to write up a motion in order to get the laptop back, because, you know, if not, they're going to keep trying to go through the firewall, and they may eventually find those pictures. And Laurel, on the other side of the thing, Laurel is saying that she's at a pediatrician's office. However, she's at the investigator's office. Carol, I don't know the lady's name, so she's just going to be the investigator, the little short bald chick. Laurel's at the investigator's office, and what we thought she was going to ask her about the blanket, it was not. She was going to ask her to see if she can get somebody to do some research to see who's calling her from a blocked number. And she told her, yeah, you know, I can help you in exchange for what you know about everything. Basically, I'm offering you the same immunity that I offered Annalise that she didn't take. So we'll see how that goes, because Laurel's weak, and she gonna be the reason the whole team falls. Just mark my words. All right, so the investigators say that she can help with the call in exchange for more information. She's basically still trying to take Annalise down. Nobody knows why and where she came from, but her number one goal in life is to take Annalise down. So, which probably ain't gonna happen, but yeah. So we also learned that Crawford went to visit Nate Sr., Nate's dad, and asked him to pick him as his representation over Annalise, and he might still be salty about the fact that Annalise had to take time off of his cases at the law firm in order to defend Nate Sr. in a more high-profile, you know, Supreme Court case, actually. And Nate is trying to get the security footage, but the guy is done way too many favors for him, and, you know, the price for it is going to be really steep, because Nate is running out of favors to ask people. So, you know, he's talking to Annalise and letting her know, like, hey, you're taking all that blood money from that law firm. You know, give me some money to pay this guy, basically. So yeah. Gabe lets us know that his mom is visiting this weekend, and he's afraid, and he needs Annalise's help to get out of it. Annalise sends Michaela in to convince him to do it, because he still likes Michaela. And it's now Michaela's job to stop his mom from coming, which I assume, I'm not quite sure why they don't want his mom to come. Maybe he could potentially tell her too much and, you know, say something to make her fall back off the wagon and get back on that booger sugar. So we'll see. All right. Frank, who is always waiting in the shadows, who is always aware of all conversations, even though he's not in all locations. Just side note. He lets Laurel know that forgiving Bonnie may be the only thing that keeps Bonnie alive, because we all know, like, Bonnie is kind of coming to the realization, like, that Ron Miller he may not have had anything to do with getting Nate Sr. killed, which means that she technically killed an innocent man. So, you know, just getting Laurel's forgiveness for whatever reason might be the thing that saves her life. So, So yeah, so Bonnie lets Oliver know for some reason she thinks it's a wise idea for him to represent himself in court in order to, plead his case in order to get his laptop. Whoop-de-dee. Crawford asks Tegan, he brings her into the office and he asks her about the Jane Doe email, and she from a few episodes ago, and she lets him know like, hey, somebody's trying to set me up. I don't know what they're talking about. Blah 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 blah. And now he's kind of on to Tegan because he may have realized that Tegan was the one that snitched on Laurel's dad and subsequently ended up putting him in prison, which I guess would hence the name Jane Doe. And IT has already come to him and let him see the emails and know that this is what was sent to her. All right, so Crawford decides on the spot that he's going to promote Tegan to his position in the law firm. Why? Because he's decided to take a new job outside of the firm. And he'll also talk to the board because, the board is still not a fan of Tegan after the whole fiasco with the guy almost dying last season. And with Laurel's dad going to jail and all these conspiracy charges, it's kind of left a bad taste on the brand. So they kind of don't like her. So he's going to talk to the board. And he lets her know like he will make that email go away and nobody will ever know what happened. And he also lets her know that the new job that he's going for is for the DA position that Miller just died in, which the last two district attorneys have died very shortly after taking office. I wouldn't be campaigning for the motherfucking job, but whoever needs it. Wouldn't be me. So Gabriel eventually figures out why Michaela is there, as they're sitting around acting like they're studying. And her job is to, I guess, convince him to not allow his mom to come visit. And he also lets her know that he's not leaving Middleton. I think Middleton is the name of the college after his exams, which was the plan. He's supposed to take his exams and go back to where he came from, no harm, no foul. But he did say he's not going to leave because he's still obsessing over the fact of Sam's his dad. He wants to know how Sam died. He does not believe that Wes is responsible for Sam's death, so he's not giving it up. So we'll see what develops with that. But Laurel, on the other side of the flashing back and forth, Laurel still has that damn blanket, and she puts it down in her purse, and she was headed to the DA's office. She called the DA and let her know like, hey, I'm headed back. Not the DA, the investigator. She headed back to the special investigator's office and let her know like, hey, I'm on the way. But she runs into Bonnie in the hallway, and Bonnie claims that this is the worst she's ever felt. She never meant for Christoph or Christopher, whatever his name is, to be involved in any of this. She feels bad about herself. This is the worst thing she's ever done. She'll never forgive herself. And, Bonnie takes pity on her and, just says, what if I forgive you? We're good. Blah, 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 blah. Two drama queens is what the best way I can explain. All right. So Connor is, he's arguing his case Connor is arguing Oliver's case to get the laptop back, and he's not making it. He's not, the judge, she's unmoved, she is unbothered, and the motion is denied. So they're going to have to figure out another plan of attack because that failed. Then we move on, and Crawford is asking Annalise to lunch, and she accepts, just potentially knowing that he got somebody killed. She still wants to, I guess get in his head and pick his brain a little bit to see what she can get from him. All right. So Frank is able to get a hold of a number that the number that has been calling Laurel blocked. And, he's prepping her like, are you sure you want to do this? Da, 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 da. And of course she's so dramatic. I have to know what's going on. Blah, 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 blah. And they call the number and the number is disconnected. Very anticlimactic, which I'm going to assume at this point, just based on what happened a little later in the episode, that it's her brother calling. But yeah, she claims she just wants a normal life at this point. She doesn't want any more drama. Unfortunately, the girl, it's too late. You are definitely involved in all of these murders, and you definitely had a hand in at least 2 or 3 of them very closely. So you might well settle in, sis. All right. So Tegan confirms to Annalise that Crawford did call the guard. Like, everybody's just confirming that Crawford did call the guard at this stage of the game. And, she further confirms what Nate Jr. is already confirmed as well for Annalise. And Annalise still goes to dinner with Emmett. She kind of wants to see him sweat and, kind of get more, pluck his brain to see if he has more information about why, or if she can learn a little bit more about the situation. All right, and Gabriel lets Michaela know that he does not believe Wes killed Sam. He's not leaving after the finals. And Michaela gives us this moving story that lets us know, like, maybe you just have to leave it alone and you don't want to find out the past, because my birth father shot my mother and I'm not a reflection of them. So she kind of understands what Gabriel feels like, even though he doesn't want to come to the realization that his father was borderline evil, and she don't want no parts of that. And Gabriel looks in her face and tells her, hey, that's why Annalise sent you over. Because that whole story was made up, wasn't it? And I guess she got offended that he said her story was fake. So I guess we operate under the assumption that it was her real life story. She did say her dad or somebody shot her mom while she was sitting next to her or something like that. So that might be true. All right. So going back over to Annalise and Crawford, he claims, which Emmett is Emmett Crawford. Crawford claims that he's leaving the company, but he doesn't know what job he's going to be taking. And Annalise kind of calls his bluff and lets him know, like, hey, I already know that you're going to be applying for the DA position. So, why are you lying? Just tell me what you want to say. And he's saying something about the DA position kind of being his equivalent. I guess he likes Annalise, but he also wants to be equivalent with her. So how she got all the accolades and pats on the backs from taking her case to the Supreme Court, he wants to get the same type of notice by taking the DA position, which is freaking weird. But yeah. And Annalise tells him he's covering something up, and they're going back and forth and blah, 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 and she storms out of the restaurant. All right, so now we go back over to Bonnie's, and Nate is there, and he lets her know that the governor may not have been involved, and that it may have been Crawford more than the governor, which subsequently means that Miller may have had no parts, but we're not letting him off scot-free just yet. Just another theory to think about. And Bonnie goes on to blackmail the warden with the phone call from Miller, just in order to get the video footage of who visited Nate Sr. during like that last little time before he died. All right. So Oliver decides to hack something from Connor's computer on the judge that had, that won't let him get the other laptop back. And, he finds some information on her, and he wants to drop I guess it's a suit. He wants to drop the case based on the appearance of impropriety, which I'm going to assume is, irresponsible behavior, just not becoming of a officer of the court. And she was like, yeah, the special agent, she's already been dismissed, so that's no longer a worry for you guys. And he was like, no, you judge, you the one that's not staying away from the appearance of impropriety. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I guess she had dinner at a restaurant at some bar called the Beer Bar, or the Bar Beer, or Wine Bar, or something like that. She claimed she didn't have no wine, but she had dinner at a wine bar, which would give us the appearance. We can assume that she consumed wine and then signed off on a warrant, which is against their oath that they've taken and the standards that they've, just decided to uphold as an officer of the court, servant of the people. Sure. So she definitely agrees with Oliver, and she's saying, I definitely hold myself to a high standard. Oliver, you have taught me a lesson, and drops the case, gives him the computer back. That's it. Easy as that. All right. So Michaela claims that Gabriel has gotten into her head, and now she is at the point where she's putting in applications to track down her birth parents. As much as he said that she didn't want to know and she don't care about her birth parents, here she is allowing Gabriel to get into her mind, and now she is on a search for her birth parents, I guess, no matter how painful it is. So she's also emotional, and she's looking at Asher, and she's saying to him, I definitely miss us. I miss us being together. And then, they had to go away and rush off to see what was happening. on Oliver's computer. So Oliver's computer, when people try to hack his software, it takes pictures of the faces of the people, and it shows the investigator, the special investigator. She was attempting to hack Oliver's computer, and it takes a picture of her and her background. Right? And in the background, it's that board I was telling you guys about in the last episode. It's like a white board, and it has pictures of every single person that has been involved with every single case, every single death, every single cover-up since season 1. Like the girl that died in season 1, the other investigator that died, Sam, everybody that done died in these seasons are on this board, and they look interconnected in by some degree or another. So everybody's concerned that the investigator knows everything, and Annalise is telling them, guys, calm down. If she knew anything, we'd be in jail by now. So just relax. I'm gonna call you back. Let me answer the door, and at the same time, there's a knock on the door at the house where they're at. Okay, and with that being said, at Annalise's house is Crawford. He's busting in, and he was like, I didn't kill anybody. I didn't kill Nate Jr. And she's like, what are you talking about? He tells her that he bugged Keegan's office, and he heard their whole conversation. He heard their whole accusation. He basically doesn't appreciate it or whatever. And he says he didn't make any calls. He's not admitting anything. And he's saying a lot of the information is fabricated from what he believes. So somebody trying to set old Crawford up, or he motherfucking lying, and he gonna be the next one killed. Just the way that's just the way things goes in this world. All right, and so the investigator also is over at Gabe's apartment building, and she lets him know that she can tell him who killed Sam in exchange for all the other information he knows about Annalise and everybody else. So we'll see if he takes that deal or if he goes on about his happy-go-lucky way. All right, so the package received at the house for Laurel is her mother's scalp. It doesn't look like a full head. Like, it just looks like all of this got peeled back, put in a box, and mailed to her. So it ain't her mama prank calling her or block calling her, because her mama's probably dead. She ain't got no scalp, so she probably dead at this point. And Annalise and Nate and everybody's looking at the video that Bonnie was able to scrounge up from the warden, and everybody thought it was Crawford that was visiting Nate Sr., but when he stood up and turned around, everybody was like, who is that? They didn't know, but Frank knew. Frank told them that it's Laurel's brother. So Laurel's brother that showed up back last season before Laurel's dad went to prison, he showed up, and he's kind of like, he gives him like a Frank vibe, like a I'm gonna handle everything, I'm gonna kill everybody, don't get your hands dirty type of brother. So he is back, and he visited with Nate Sr. Prior to his death. So I don't know what this brother got to do with anything, but he shows back up, and the mom's scalp showed up at the same time, and Nate Sr. died after he visited him. So I guess Laurel's dad is probably out here, pulling some strings from prison, because he'll never just, do his time peacefully. He's definitely going to pull some strings while he's in there to screw up some other people's lives in the process. So that is the end of episode 14 of How to Get Away with Murder. I hope it wasn't super long. I've already taken my sleeping pills, so my words are getting slower, which is probably a benefit to you guys, because I know I speak really fast sometimes. So yeah, that is it. We are almost at the finale for the season, so we will see y'all on Thursday with another episode.